Hello, I am Jonathan Crook, Print Technical Consultant for HP. In this training video, I will quickly show you how to utilize permission sets in the FutureSmart 4 or 5 firmware platform on our enterprise class devices. Depending on your model and firmware level, some features or buttons may not be available. Today, I'm using an enterprise class 6 series device with flow features running FutureSmart 5.9. So permission sets are designed to help control what users have access to at the panel, especially when they walk up to it, right? So you can control just walk-up users and you can control actual users that authenticate at the machine. And that just allows you to make sure that they don't have access to what you don't want them to have access to, something like the settings of the machine and things like that. So today I'm going to kind of give you an overview of permission sets and how they're utilized and how they're set up. So the first thing we're going to do is log into the EWS as the administrator, and we're going to go under security and access control. So under access control, you may have seen this in other videos where I've scrolled by it. You can see here there's sign in and permission policies. These are the permission sets. These are the default ones. Guest, which is anyone that walks up to the machine, what do they have access to? Administrator, which you can see you can't change, and then device user, right? So when you add user accounts to the machine for the first time, they normally default to the device user. And so let's just start by showing a basic thing, right? Sometimes it's as simple as I don't want anyone to have access to color copying. So I can come over here to copy. I can expand it out, and you can see here I have make a color copy, and I actually have a padlock there. So when you click on it, it locks it. And so what that does is it locks being able to select color as an option when making a color copy. Now, it's important to note that in order for someone to make a color copy, they need to have a user account, at least under the device user. So if I expand it again here, you can see device user has the ability to do that. And you can double check your users when you scroll down to the bottom and under the device user accounts here. And you can see mine with 1234 code is under as a device user. So what happens is when they walk up to someone walks up to the machine and they want to make a color copy, they can't do that. It's actually got a padlock there. And so you can see that's what we've done by padlocking just color under guest, right? We've stopped them from being able to make a color copy. And if they want to make a color copy and they click on it, it's going to ask them for their code. And this is where those user accounts come into play, which we have another video on. And I am going to type in 1234. I hit sign in. And now you see I have the ability to actually change it to color. So that's how permission sets work, right? Is there allow you to adjust and control what people have access to. So one of the additional things with locking down the guest is that you can lock down access to certain applications or certain settings, right? So in some cases, you might say, IT says, we don't want anyone to change any settings on the machine. So they're going to lock down that whole settings group, right? So you can see all of the sub settings here. They're all locked down. And that's going to look a little different on the screen as well, right? So before we did the color copy where we showed that it just locked out the black and gray, but we were still able to actually get into copy mode. But now, if I were to scroll over, you can see here settings in the upper left-hand corner actually has a padlock. So we are basically not even allowing anyone to go in there until they authenticate as a user. So depending on where you actually are setting up the permit or where you're locking down the permissions, it determines where that padlock is going to reside. From here, then, right, you might come in here and say, okay, we can go deeper, right? We can go and we can add additional things. So let's say guests can't do any reports. We don't want them into the tools. We don't want them into job logs, right? So what we're doing is we're really limiting what guest walkup users have. And what we're wanting is actual users to have more access. So let's say, for instance, the device users, we're going to come in here and say, okay, you know what? We're going to allow the device users, we don't want them to have settings. We want them to have reports, but we don't want them to have support tools, right? And so we can come in here and now we're starting to kind of work our way up in who has access to what based on the permissions that they're a part of, right? So if I hit apply, and now I've got a couple different things here. So what's going to happen here is as a guest, you will see reports is locked out, settings, support tools, job logs, those are all locked out. But now let's say I authenticate as 1234 and I come in as me. Now reports is unlocked, right? So as a user, reports is allowing me to do that. But you can see here settings and support tools are still locked even though I'm signed in, right? So permission sets gives you that ability to do that. And the last step really is, let's say you need a third level of permissions, right? You do have the ability to actually add additional permission sets. So if you scroll down here to the bottom, you have manage permission sets. And from here, I could say, let's call this a super user. We're going to hit OK, and we're going to hit back. And so now I have a new column that says super user. Now you can see by default when we create it, it's actually locking out the things we've already locked out. So we have to give them the ability to do that. But let's say, for instance, the super user, they're going to get access to the settings because we want them to be able to change settings. They want reports. We still don't want them to have support tools, right? So what we're doing is, and then they can do job logs. So all we're really locking them out. So the permission sets, having different ones, gives you the flexibility of giving different people access to the machine and what options are available on it. Now, one of the other things to note is we do also down here at the bottom, while this is all at the panel level, down here at the bottom, the same thing with this web page here, it applies. And so you can see here from a guest perspective, they can only see the information tab. So if I wasn't signed in as an administrator, this is all they can see. And then for those users here, you could come in here and actually give them a little bit more access. So I could say, you know, I'm going to give them access to general copy and print, right? So we're going to apply that. And then I'm going to sign out. And when I sign out, you can see all I see is the information tab. But let me sign in as a local device user, 1234. I click sign in, and now you can see I see general and copy and print only. So I can't get into networking, I can't get into security. So permission sets can also be used to control what end users have access to on the web page of our machines, which can be very useful. I hope this has been informative for you. Have a great day.